Hello everyone, my name is Chris Shirley. I'm a former bootneck officer and also the founder of Hiatus Project and the House of Hiatus. And as you can see from my leg, I'm a pretty average mountaineer.
This video is sponsored by Offensive Veteran. For 10% off early apparel, use this code. Welcome everybody, Russ McDonough, aka The Nomadic Veteran, and welcome to this week's video and episode 10 of the Vet Files. This week's guest, former bootneck officer Chris Shirley. Now, if there is such a thing as a life CV, Chris is his toppers already. What he's achieved so far is remarkable. And even when things take a tumble for the worse, yes, pun intended, in true bootneck fashion, sense of humour, planning his next adventure, bigger and better. Anyway, here's Chris's story.
I did Air Cadets as a 15-year-old, then went into my design period of my life, became an artist, doodler, designer, illustrator. I spent maybe 5 years doing that and reached a reasonably proficient level, but realised there's something very much missing in my life, and that was a feeling of purpose. So I decided that I wanted to join an organisation which became the military because of parents and uncle being in the military, and followed my brother into the military police, which some people probably said was my first mistake, but then went for a commission in the Royal Marines at the end of 2009. Was unsuccessful in my first one, but managed to scrape a pass with the second one, and then spent 15 and a half months in Lympstone learning to become an officer and talk properly and use utensils properly. It was like hitting a brick wall at 60 miles an hour. I thought I was accustomed to the military, having spent 6 years in the military police. I deployed twice to Iraq. I'd spent a year and a half in Northern Ireland, and I kind of thought I just had my bearing of what the military was all about. But the thing with Royal Marines training is that you can't hide anywhere. Like you're having a bad day, you're exhausted, you've got tests, you've got technical information to take on board and assimilate, and it will literally strip you back to your bare bones, and it will kind of show it to the rest of your batch, to the directing staff and leader training, and it's a place where you can't hide anything. You can't just grizz it out for 15 and a half months, because it's you're doing weeks and weeks of preparation, going on exercise and sleep deprived and hungry and all these sorts of things. Well, so I was aiming for the next step, which I'm sure those and viewers can probably imagine what the next step from the Royal Marines would likely to be, but found that I was starting to get allergies that were showing up, and this allergy was manifesting itself in a swelling on my jaw, where every now and then I'd look a bit like a circus clown. Everyone joins the Marines because they want to deploy in operations, they want to go and fast rip out of helicopters, or they want to do a rib insertion onto an opposed beach. Not sat there and drive a computer and be a bureaucrat, which I guess officers are kind of known for sometimes. So I didn't want to have a limited career. So after a year and a half of the Navy trying to figure out what it was that was causing this reaction, I punched out, I fell on my sword, and I said that I'll figure out what the next step of my life is going to be, but I can't wait any longer. The Hiatus Project was born out of me going to Afghanistan in 2016 to work for the charity. I'd never deployed to Afghanistan with the military, so in a 12-year career within the military, I felt like I missed out on a shared experience that everyone else had and had been on, but I'd been a pedestrian to. I'd not been deployed to Afghanistan, so I had a fresh set of eyes. Deployed to Afghanistan, and it was really different from what I was expecting. You see the sand and the fighting in Helmand, and you kind of think the whole country is like that. But then when you get to Kabul, you're in with the charity community, you're there with NGOs and government officials, and you're there with a whole different set of experiences than what you're expecting. So when I finished in Afghanistan, I finished consulting in Afghanistan, and then started to hear about stories about mountain bikers in Kabul. I was left with this huge amount of curiosity. Kids from different tribes, from the Pushtons, the Hazaras, to many others, were actually helping each other get through the situation by riding their bikes together. And that's men and women, teenagers, 20-year-olds were literally providing that psychosocial support to each other to weather the difficulties of conflict within their country. I travelled over there in 2017. Met them along with the Kabul Boys parkour team, the Afghan ski team, or the Banyan Ski Club, and a whole lot of other sports teams, which I came back to the UK completely mind-blowing, thinking nobody's supporting these sports teams, yet they're having exactly the same kind of effect that we have on each other in the veterans community. We support each other and we kind of help each other through difficult times. So I felt a complete need to help in some ways, and that wasn't financially, that was sending them out things like GoPros or ice axes or mountain bike parks or things which they couldn't get in country. In terms of kind of projects, it's just helping all these different types of sports spring up. There's skateboarders, there's mountain bikers, there's parkour, there's taekwondo, there's women's kung fu teams, there's climbing teams, there's every kind of sport you can imagine there's growing there. So one of the goals I've got is to help the first Afghan team of mountaineers to stand on Everest. So no Afghan mountaineers ever stood on the peak of the summit of Everest. I would love to be a force for good which helps that happen. That's going to be a long-term project. You can't really tell right now because I've definitely got a scran belly on me, but I do enjoy physical endeavours like, dare I say, running, swimming, mountaineering and adventures. So I found myself having rode the Atlantic, having run the Marathon des Sables, having gone into summited Mont Blanc, and set my sights on the Matterhorn mountain, which is the big pointy shape in the Toblerone chocolate bar. There's the mountain that straddles Switzerland and in Italy. I've been doing it for the last 3 years, or tried to summit it for the last 3 years from the Italian side. Failed on 2 attempts, so last year decided that would be my final attempt. I'll get to the summit, take a hoofing photo with a cross, and then come back down for tier medals. But luck would have it a different way. We woke up in the Corral Hut, which is 4,000 metres up, so 400 metres from the summit, to rime ice, to snow, and the assault course of the Matterhorn was not going to let us up there. So we descended back down to base camp, sat there, licking my wounds, drinking a bit of Jura whiskey in the evenings, and we had this idea to do some traditional climbing where you're roped up and you just climb up normal rock faces. I had my camera with me, I had a DSLR camera, so I decided that it'd be better for me not to be roped up, but I would walk alongside the climbers and take photos, get some hoofing pics of them to show on Instagram or whatever. That was the last thing I remember. I didn't remember that day because 10 days later I woke up in a hospital in Aosta in Italy, having been intubated, so an airline, obviously oxygen fed to me, having been aeromedded from the Matterhorn after I had a 50-metre tumble, hit my head a number of times, and then had been in a coma for 8 days. My family was around me. I didn't recognise them at first. I couldn't talk. I had no recollection of this. I was incoherent whilst in the coma. I was trying to pull my oxygen line out. I was trying to pull the lines out of me. I was being a right pain in the ass patient. I'd had 3 bleeds on the brain. I had 3 lesions, which is a brain bleed. They thought they didn't know if I was going to wake up and be brain damaged, be a vegetable, be responsive. My whole life was a big question mark afterwards. After 5 operations on my leg, including having a metal rod inserted into it to keep the pieces of shin bone that were protruding out of my leg, I developed an infection in my shin bone, had to cut 6 centimetres out of it. But thankfully, we must have inherited lizard genes because you can regrow bone, osteogenesis. I think you come out the other end of this when you've been given a second chance at life, a changed person. because you realise that actually you don't really bounce off things. You know, you kind of bounce and you break and you stop and then you bleed and then people come to your rescue. They fly you off mountains. They put you back together. They feed you air when you stop breathing. They do a lot of things for you which you can't possibly thank everyone for, which is a challenge in itself. What it does give you is it gives you a healthy appetite for life and a healthy respect for it, which for me is translated into realisation of a dream that I had 10 years ago of wanting to go into medicine. Now, as a graphic designer, as an artist, as a veteran, it's kind of odd to say I'm going for a second career in medicine at 37 years old. I mean, my mum and dad probably should be saying that you should be settling down and getting married now, and having a normal career like other people. But I think the military kind of helps you to realise that you're capable of a lot more things than you necessarily realise when you're 20, when you're going through university, when you're grown up. So I now feel like I've been given a second chance to actually make a better go at things. I took up ultra running to get myself ready for commando training, and that was obviously doing everything beyond the marathon. So I started off doing marathons, then went down to double marathons, and then kind of ultra long distances, kind of 40, 50, 60 milers. And randomly, the quote that always used to come into my head was, "All roads lead to Rome." And I can't really explain why it came to me so often, but it was almost a way of reminding myself that whatever happens, no matter what I was kind of going through, no matter how much my legs were aching or my arms were aching or my back was aching, that eventually it will stop. You'll either get to the finish line or you'll collapse in a snotty heap. All roads lead to Rome sometimes is just what you need to kind of get you past that road bump, that blip in there before hopefully the good times do start to come back, or you start to adjust your thinking to it. To close off, all roads lead to Rome, a really random quote, but it's something which still pops into my head to this day, even when I'm trying to regrow shin bone.
All I can say is what a dude. Massive thanks to Chris for taking the time to sit down with me and do the filming. We did do a podcast. I'll put the link for that in the description box below. If you'd like to know more about the Hiatus Project, I'll put the website down below and you can have a gander. And that's about it. Really enjoyed that one. Thank you, Chris. Usual admin. If you enjoyed this video, thumbs up please. If you'd like to comment or share it, by all means, please do. And obviously the big one, dudes, subscribe to the channel. It's as easy as that. Anyway, until next week, laters.